It was around midnight when I left work. I took my usual route home. My town is small, quiet, surrounded by woods and fields. Not many people out at that hour. I was on a back road with a cornfield on one side and trees on the other. It was midsummer, warm enough to have the convertible top down. I was driving slow, maybe 50. The radio was off. I liked the silence at night. Then, out of nowhere, I heard it. A woman scream, high, panicked. It cut through the air so sudden I felt the hair on my arms rise. I couldn't tell which side it came from at first. Left, right, it sounded close. I slammed on the brakes, tires squealed, the car stopped. I sat for a second and tried to listen. The scream came again. This time I could tell it was coming from the left, from the woods. I grabbed a baton I keep in the back seat. Dumb, I know, but it makes me feel safer. I got out and yelled, "Who's there?" My voice sounded loud and thin in the night. A woman answered. "Please help me," she said. She sounded terrified. I started into the trees. I was running. Branches slapped my face. Mosquitoes swarmed. I kept yelling for her to scream so I could find her. Every 10 seconds or so, she would cry out, "Help!" and I would dart toward the sound. Then I'd run, and the scream would be the same distance away. It never seemed closer. At first, I thought I was just bad at judging distance in the dark. But as I pushed deeper, something did not add up. No matter how far I went, her voice stayed the same. It was like she was not moving, and neither was the sound. I shouted, "Tell me where you are!" Nothing for 5 seconds. Then, like a clock, she screamed again, "Help!" I stopped. The hair on my neck prickled. I had a bad feeling. It seeped into my chest and tightened. I felt stupid. I felt exposed. I turned and ran back the way I'd come. By the time I broke out of the trees, I could see my car. The headlights were flashing through the leaves. Relief hit me sharp and hard. I didn't expect the voice to still be there. But it was. Even as I ran toward the road, I could hear the woman screaming. It held the same distance between us, no matter how close I got to the car. I slammed into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and started the engine. My hands shook. I felt watched. I drove away without looking in the rear view. I called 911 from the car. I told them where I heard the screams and that there might be someone hurt in the woods. I hung up before they asked many questions. I wanted to be gone. A week later, I saw it on the local news. A man hiking with his dog had found a body in those woods, a woman in her 30s. No signs of foul play, the report said. The coroner didn't find obvious trauma. The news showed the same stretch of trees I'd stopped at that night. I felt sick. The police asked around. They had no witnesses. They had footprints, maybe. The paper said it was likely she died of natural causes or an overdose. They didn't know. They kept the timeline vague. The news anchor said it had happened sometime during the previous week. They didn't say the exact day. I couldn't get it out of my head. The scream, her voice, the way it had stayed the same distance away while I ran toward it. I told a few friends. They shrugged. "People are weird at night," one said. The police had their theories. They closed the case. No evidence of a crime, they said. But it bothered me. A lot. I kept replaying the moment I ran toward the sound. I thought about the scream and whether it was even real. Was it a recording? A prank? Someone testing me? I drove past that road once more during the day. I slowed down and looked at the trees. They were dense, thick with undergrowth. You could hide in there and not be seen from the road. The area is big. I told myself it was probably a coincidence. I told myself I had nothing to do with whatever happened. Time passed. I stopped talking about it. Life got busy. But I never went down that road at night again. Then, one night, 2 months later, I was in my garage getting into the car. I had the radio on low. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I reached for the door handle. The garage light was on. It was warm inside from the evening heat. It was quiet. Then I heard it, a soft, faraway sound at first, a woman's voice, saying help in the same tone, the same rhythm. My skin went cold. I froze with my hand on the car. The sound came from outside, not the woods this time, not even close. It was maybe 50 yards away, maybe less, but it was audible through the garage door. I made myself stay still. I didn't move. The voice called again. Please, help me. It was clearer now. I knew that voice. I recognized the pitch. My heart pounded until it felt loud in my ears. Then the sound moved, not toward me, around me. It seemed to pass from one side of the garage to the other. I stepped back into the shadow. The voice followed the movement and kept saying the same single word, help. I looked at the passenger seat, empty. I looked at the back seat, empty. I checked the driveway, nothing, no cars, no people. The voice kept coming, steady, patient. It was close now, too close. I yanked open the driver door and slid in. Doors slammed shut by habit. I reached for the key and started the engine. The radio was still on. I drove forward slowly. The voice stopped the moment I moved onto the street. It vanished like someone had flipped a switch. I told myself it was the wind, or someone nearby playing games, or a neighbor with a loud phone. I drove to the store and then home. I told no one at first. I tried to sleep. I could not. A week later, I found a small scrap of paper folded in the cup holder between the seats. I know I had cleaned the car before. I would have seen it. It hadn't been there. The paper was thin. It was damp at the edges. Inside was a single word written in a hurried hand. Thanks. I felt sick to my stomach. The handwriting wasn't mine. I opened the cup holder and checked the lining. There were faint smudges like someone had been there recently. Dust disturbed. Not much, but enough. I called the police again. I told them. They said they would come by and check the area. They came and done a sweep. They asked the usual questions. They didn't find anything. They told me to keep a log if anything else happened. That night, while I was home, I heard a whisper from the passenger seat. It was barely audible, close enough to be in my ear. I was sitting on the couch in the dark. The whisper was calm. It said, "You didn't help me." It wasn't a scream now. It was a voice that knew me, a voice that had been patient for weeks, a voice that had waited for me to stop running, a voice that sounded like the woman in the woods. I stood up. I walked to the car in the driveway. Every light in the neighborhood was off. My hands were shaking when I opened the door. There was nothing in the passenger seat, no note, no footprints, just an indentation on the leather where someone had been sitting. It was warm. I locked the doors and sat in the driver's seat. I didn't start the engine. I waited. I kept the radio off. I listened for anything else. The world was still. Then, very softly, from the back seat, I heard it again. Not a scream, not a plea, a single, cold word. Finally.
It was a dark winter night. The kind of night where fog hangs heavy in the air, swallowing the road ahead, and the only light comes from the faint glow of the car's headlights. Samir, a 25-year-old software engineer, was driving home from his friend's birthday party. The city lights were far behind him now, and the highway stretched endlessly into the night. He rolled down the window slightly, letting the cold air brush against his face, hoping it would keep him awake. Music played faintly from the radio, but the static from poor reception made it more irritating than comforting. He glanced at the clock. It was past 1 a.m. Samir sighed. "Another hour and I'll be home," he muttered to himself. But home was still too far away. The highway was empty, not a single car in sight. Samir yawned, trying to shake off the drowsiness. Then that's when he saw her. Up ahead, at the side of the road, stood a woman. She was dressed in white. Her long black hair cascaded down her shoulders, covering most of her face. She wasn't moving, wasn't waving for help. She simply stood there, still as a statue, facing the road. Samir's hands tightened on the steering wheel. His first instinct was to slow down. Maybe she needed help. But something deep inside him whispered, "Don't stop." As he drove past her, he caught a glimpse of her face under the dim glow of his headlights. Pale, expressionless, eyes that seemed empty, hollow. A shiver ran down his spine. He pressed the accelerator, heart racing. The woman disappeared into the fog behind him. Or so he thought. 5 minutes passed. Samir tried to convince himself it was nothing. Maybe she was just a villager waiting for someone. Maybe it was his imagination. But then he felt it. The unmistakable sensation that he wasn't alone. He adjusted the rearview mirror, and that's when his blood ran cold. The same woman was sitting in his back seat. Her face was tilted slightly downward, hair covering her features, but her hollow eyes stared at him through the strands. Her lips curled in the faintest, unnatural smile.
Samir's throat went dry. His foot slammed on the brake. The car screeched to a halt in the middle of the highway. He whipped around, ready to confront her, but the back seat was empty. Confused, trembling, he turned forward again, only to see something even worse. In the reflection of his rearview mirror, the woman was still there, staring at him. But when he looked back physically, the seat was empty. His hands shook as he started the car again. The engine roared to life, and he floored the accelerator, desperate to get away. For a few moments, nothing happened. The road stretched endlessly ahead, silent and dark. Then, faintly at first, he heard it. A soft, chilling laugh. It came from the back seat. His breathing quickened. He dared not look. He kept his eyes fixed on the road, but the laughter grew louder. Ha 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 ha! Suddenly, something cold brushed against the back of his neck, like icy fingers running across his skin. Samir screamed, swerving the car violently. He nearly crashed into the divider before regaining control. In panic, he turned on the radio, hoping for distraction. But the radio only hissed with static. Then, through the static, came a whisper. "You can't escape me." By now, Samir was drenched in sweat. His knuckles turned white from gripping the steering wheel too tightly. All he wanted was to find people, any sign of life. Finally, up ahead, he spotted a dimly lit gas station. Relieved, he pulled over, hoping to gather his thoughts and calm down. The place looked abandoned. The lights flickered weakly, and only one pump seemed to be working. Samir parked and stepped out, his legs trembling. The night air was colder than before. Too cold. "Hello? Anyone here?" he called out. No response. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw movement. Behind the glass of the small convenience store attached to the station, he saw her again. The woman in white. This time, she was standing completely still, staring at him through the glass. Samir stumbled backward, fumbling for his car door, but before he could reach it, the lights of the gas station went out completely. Darkness consumed everything. Samir could barely see his car. He rushed inside, slammed the door shut, and turned the ignition. But the engine wouldn't start. Click, click, click. No, come on, he whispered frantically. And then the laughter returned, louder, closer, from right beside him. He turned his head slowly. The passenger seat was empty, but in the side mirror outside, her reflection stared back at him. He screamed, slammed his fists on the steering wheel, and finally the engine roared to life. He drove out of the gas station as fast as he could, not daring to look back.